Hello and welcome to And Now You Know. I'm Teresa and tonight I'll be answering the question, why don't grandmas look like grandmas anymore? When I was a kid, my grandma looked like a grandma. She had the snow white hair, pleated polyester pants, a blue sweater that had that Precious Moments ducky on it, and her nurse shoes. Everyone's grandma looked like a grandma. Then something changed and I didn't even realize it until my mom became a grandma. My mom doesn't look like a grandma at all. Sure, she's of grandma age and has graying hair, but other than that, you wouldn't be able to look at her and go, yep, that right there is a grandma. And my mom definitely isn't the only one. It's becoming increasingly rare to see that old-fashioned grandma look anymore. But since most of us are so used to that look, where did it even come from in the first place? Back in the late 1800s to mid-1900s, being a grandma wasn't only a role, but it used to be a look. There were unwritten societal rules about aging and how you presented yourself. We can thank a lot of that on the Victorian era. Older women were expected to be modest, reserved, and visibly past their prime. Dark clothes, simple styles, and conservative silhouettes were common. Especially if your husband died or you were considered a spinster, you might wear all black for years or for the rest of your life. The matron look persisted for quite a long time, but colors gradually started to be introduced and accepted. It wasn't until about the late 1960s that it became socially acceptable for grandmothers to ditch the dress and start wearing slacks and shirts. Nowadays, it's commonplace to see a grandma wearing yoga pants, tank tops, you name it. Then there's the hair. Today, people go gray if they want to, or they don't, or they can even go purple. Needless to say, grandmas have options. Back then, gray hair wasn't just natural, it was expected. It showed your age and it was considered appropriate. And whose grandmas didn't have curlers? Mine slept in them and had the little sleeping cap. It wasn't because it was the hip grandma thing to do at the time, it was mainly from thinning hair and it was easier to maintain. But back then, when they went to the salons, they still just didn't have very many options. Now you've got grannies rocking anything from a pixie cut to a shag, and now there are treatments for thinning hair. So the curlers no longer are a necessity, now it's an option. There are also a couple other things to take into consideration. Women don't age as fast as they used to, or at least they don't appear to. From cosmetic treatments to being more health conscious and staying more active, the visible signs of aging have slowed down. And if you are seeing younger grandmas, it's probably because they are younger. Now it's not uncommon to see grandmas who are in their mid-40s. And there isn't a single 45-year-old on this earth who would be willing to dress down, let alone slow down, just because they're a grandma.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sally O'Malley. I'm proud to say that I'm 50 years old. I'm not one of those gals who's afraid to tell her real age, and I like to kick, stretch, and kick. I'm 50.
Now, this isn't just a Western thing, but it definitely is more common in the West. In places like the US, the grandma look basically went away because fashion rules and societal views relaxed, and people stopped caring if older women dressed young. But in other parts of the world, it's a mixed bag. Take Japan. You'll still see a lot of traditional presentation, more age-aware, modest clothing. But you're also seeing younger grandmas who are very put together and modern. Then you have South Korea, where beauty standards are incredibly high. Grandmas there are more on top of skincare and fashion than most 25-year-olds. So unless it's part of a trend, it's extremely doubtful you'll find any grandma willingly look like a grandma. In areas like India, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia, grandmas often still retain the look of an elderly woman. For them, it's culture and partly because of the role they carry. For many families, grandma is the primary caregiver and someone to still be respected. And in places like Mexico and Brazil, you kind of get both. Grandmas are head of the family and are held in extremely high regard. It's the norm to see one wearing anything from traditional clothes to high fashion. And yet, somehow grandpas still look like grandpas. That's because society and cultures didn't put as much emphasis or pressure on them to visibly match their age or role. They've always just been grandpa, and now finally, grandmas are able to enjoy that freedom as well. Just because they don't look the part anymore doesn't mean that the traditional grandma doesn't exist. The role is still strong as ever, it's just wrapped in a different package. And now you know. If you have any questions you'd like answered, feel free to send me a message on Twitter at ANYKShow or email me at andnowyouknowshow@gmail.com. Until next time.